Hello and welcome back to Road to 2027, a podcast focused on helping Nigerians understand the system shaping our democracy. Today we are discussing the newly signed electoral law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and more importantly, what has changed compared to the previous law and how those changes could affect the 2027 general elections. This episode is not about political reactions. It's about understanding the rules because elections are governed by law long before they are decided by voters. So let's go through the major areas where the new law differs from the previous framework. Number one, the electronic transmission of results. One of the biggest debates after the 2023 election was result transmission. Under the previous Electoral Act 2022, Section 60 sub 5, the law said results should be transferred in a manner prescribed by the Commission. Now, that wording created a lot of confusion because the law did not clearly state that electronic transmission was mandatory. During the post-election cases, the Supreme Court of Nigeria explained that it could not rely solely on arguments about electronic transmission, since the law itself never made electronic transmission compulsory for the 2023 election. In simple terms, the court said the law allowed electronic transmission, but it did not legally require it as the only valid method of collation. That experience showed why clearer drafting became necessary. The amended law now recognizes the electronic upload of polling unit results to a public viewing portal while keeping manual collation as backup where network coverage is poor. It is important to understand what is being uploaded. What gets transmitted electronically is not fresh results being created online. It is the same result already written and confirmed at the polling unit on Form EC8 in the presence of party agents. That document is the primary record of vote for each candidate. It is signed by the presiding officer and countersigned by party agents. The electronic upload is simply a scan or photograph copy of that already agreed result sheet, which is then sent to the viewing portal, the IRF. So the technology is simply showing the physical result sheet and not replacing it. Number two, election notice period. Another important change is the election timeline. And although it sounds small, it actually shapes the entire political calendar. Section 28 of the Electoral Act 2022, the electoral body, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had to publish the notice of election not later than 360 days before the election. In practical terms, that meant almost 1 full year of a fixed political timetable before Nigerians went to the poll. The amended law now reduces this period to 300 days. So what does this mean? First, for the Electoral Commission, it creates more flexibility in scheduling elections. For example, avoiding major seasonal disruption, such as length of the Muslim fasting period. Secondly, for the political parties, preparation time becomes shorter, candidate selection must happen faster, campaign structures must be organized earlier, and internal dispute must be resolved quickly. Otherwise, they spill into the election period. And thirdly, voters, the political season may feel shorter but more intense. In simple terms, the system gains flexibility, but everyone involved must operate with greater urgency and discipline. Number three, party primaries and candidate substitution. Now, let's talk about another very important reform, party primaries and candidate substitution. Interestingly, one of the biggest problems in Nigeria's election has never really been election day itself. It has been who actually gets on the ballot. For many years, candidate selection within political parties has produced more court cases than the actual voting itself. Under Section 33 of the Electoral 2022, parties were required to submit their candidate list to the Independent National Electoral Commission within specific deadline. But in practice, the process rarely ended there. Primaries would be conducted, A winner would emerge and then disagreement would start. Sometimes party leaders replaced the winner after the primary. Sometimes factions conducted parallel primaries in different locations, and in many cases, court later decide who the real candidate was. For example, in the 2019 election, several gubernatorial primaries ended up in the court because internal party disagreement produced parallel candidates. Voters were confused, and in some states, court had to decide which candidate's name would appear on the ballot month before the election day. Essentially, elections were being shaped by judges, not by the citizens. The amended law now tries to fix this. It recognizes two lawful methods for producing a candidate. One, direct primaries where all registered party members vote. And second, consensus, where all aspirants agree on one candidate. Consensus is valid only if every cleared aspirant give written agreement. If even one refuses, the party must conduct primary election. This removed the old loopholes where party leaders simply announced a candidate and called it consensus. The law also tightens rules for candidate substitution, making it harder to replace a validly chosen candidate except under clearly defined conditions. I like this new law because when primaries are clear and transparent, voters, not the court, determines the election's outcome. These reforms aim to move Nigeria from court-driven elections to voter-driven elections, giving citizens real power of deciding their leaders. Number 4, disqualified winners. Now, let's talk about what happens after the election, a state that has caused a lot of controversy in the past. Under the old law, there were cases where if a candidate was disqualified after vote had been cast, courts simply declared the runners-up as the winner. In practice, this sometimes meant that the person who did not actually secure the most support from voters could be declared the winner based on legal technicalities. This approach created confusion and frustration. Voters often felt sidelined because the ultimate decision wasn't coming from the ballot, but from the court ruling interpreting procedural issues. It also encouraged post-election litigation as a strategy to overturn results rather than focusing on meaningful campaigning or voter engagement. The amended law now changes this approach. Instead of automatically awarding victory to the second place candidate, it requires a fresh election if the original winner is disqualified. This ensures that the final outcome reflects the actual choice of the people rather than the calculation of the court or the order of finish. In essence, this reform moves power back to the voters. It reinforces a fundamental democratic principle: leaders should emerge from the ballot, not from technicalities or court rulings. By doing this, the law also encourages political parties and candidates to focus more on fair competition and compliance before the election, rather than relying on post-election legal challenges to change results. For 2027, this means elections can be more credible, participatory, because citizens know that their vote will count and that the outcome truly reflects their collective will. My final notes. As we wrap up today's episode, the key takeaway is clear. Nigeria's democracy is only as strong as the system, processes that support it from primaries to the final vote. The new electoral law gives us hope that elections will be more transparent, more voter-driven, and less dependent on legal framework loopholes. But the law alone are not enough. Change depends on active citizens, accountable parties, and institutions that work consistently. So as we look towards 2027, remember this: your vote matters, your engagement matters, and your voice shapes the future of our nation. Thank you for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Till we meet again.